Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:01. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses. Pete, I see weird things on the screen here.
Yeah, your chair's kind of keying out.
Oh, there they go. Okay. All right. You know what? I was trying to figure out what they were. It looks like television. It looks like
that's the chair trying
monitors.
To key out.
Yeah, there you go. So I can just go like this.
Yep.
Okay.
We'll
play with those later on.
I can try to adjust them a little bit.
That's all right. We'll
completely get rid of them like that.
Well, there you go. Oh,
that gets rid of other stuff too, though.
That's okay. All right. So while Pete and I are busy doing all this Pete's doing the technical stuff. I'm just playing over here.
Yes.
My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host. It is Wednesday, February 19th. We are more than halfway through February. So
I know, it's crazy.
I know, but I'm really happy because just the winter, sometimes the New England winter seemed to go on forever. And Gary and I took a walk the other day, and we were both saying, okay, we've gone through all of January.
Yes.
So we got through that. And actually, as Gary pointed out, it has not been a bad New England winter.
No, it's actually been fairly mild.
It's been fairly mild. We've had a lot of days in the 30s. It's going to be what you see is what you get today. It's already 37, and that's about where it's going to be. But we really can't complain. We haven't had much snow. So for those of us who don't love snow, that's a good thing. For those who like to ski and who like to do snow, I don't know.
That's been going on up north.
I was going to say, are they okay up there?
Vermont, New Hampshire, yeah. Blandford,
okay.
The Berkshire East has had problems, but
okay.
Up north, every time it's been raining or mixy here, it's
snowing up there. Yeah, exactly. So I think they're okay. So for all you ski lovers, you can get out there and do that. But yeah, so we're in. Of course, February is a relatively short month, even though it is a leap year this year. So we do have that one extra day, but still, it just seems like it's a short month. And then we head into March, which of course March goes in like a lion, out like a lamb. But March is a long month with no breaks. We have no. In February we have President's Day.
Days off.
And in January we had Martin Luther King's birthday. And of course, I have to keep reminding myself, Pete, that the kids are off from school this week.
Right.
I forget that. We had Monday off as President's Day, but
I didn't. I worked I worked a full day because I came in, did Michael Buster McMahon's show, and then I'm like, I'm going to work a full day, and then I'll take a half a day off somewhere along the week here.
Well, Pete, you could have just called me because where do you think I was? Sitting in my office writing my community development block grant and my Sarah Gillette grant. So, I totally get it. And it was really funny because I was in my office on Monday, working, of course, because I don't even count those days. I'm just usually there anyway. It's a good catch-up day for me. And Mark Carbonneau, our senior safety officer, was also working on Monday, so he was on duty. So he was in his office catching up with some of his computer work. And he came back to my office and he said, "What are you doing? You keep running back and forth, back and forth." Well, I was working on my community development block grant. So I said to Mark, okay, let me show you how this works. So I have to print out page by page because I write it, I proof it, and then I print out the page. Then I have to have 3 originals and 2 copies. So this requires a lot of back and forth to the copy machine and the printer. And then I need all this table space because as I do page by page, I have to, sort it all out, proof it again once now I have the hard copy, and then get it all ready.
Yep.
So I've got papers and piles all sorted and everywhere. And so he looked at it and he said, wow, this is unbelievable. I said, oh yeah, that's only the application, which is, I don't know, about 10 or 11 pages. So I was still working on that. But I said, let me show you the supporting documentation, which is on the shelf in my office, which was also all spread out because same thing. I have to have all these copies of it and originals and, all that. And so I said to Mark, now you know why I can't do this when everybody's in the office.
Right.
Because everybody uses this. We all use the same copy machine. And I'm tying it up for like 5 hours the other day. And I said, it just makes it easier if I can do this when nobody's around and I can be back and forth. I can get things organized. If I find a mistake, I can redo that one page. So
how do you make up for the extra time you put in on Monday? Do you take a half a day off somewhere? Or?
You got to be kidding me. Pete, I have to tell you, this city, I told when I was hired, I said to them, you will never lose money on me. I probably work about 60 hours a week. I work between 55 and 60 hours a week.
Yeah, but you also, I'm learning this the hard way. You need to take a little time for yourself,
too. Well, I am really going to take a little long weekend this coming weekend, now that you mention it. So,
Good.
Grace and I are going to do a little getaway. So we're excited about that.
That's cool.
So, yeah, little mother-daughter bonding. We're going to go down to Maryland and visit my brother and sister-in-law who winter down in Maryland, and they have their regular houses actually up in Maine, and their daughter and her husband, and they have 2 sons, so my great-nephews. So I'm really excited.
You went down there earlier.
I did. I went down
sick.
there. Everybody was sick. So I went down there in January. They were all sick. So I never got to see my little guy who's 11 months old, little Luke. And Grace had said, she doesn't get to see them. Well, now that she's moved back, to Western Mass, she hopefully will. But when she was in Florida, of course, she didn't see them very often, and even in Plymouth. So she had decided she was going to fly down there because I said, you know what, she's in between jobs right now. I said, this is a good time to do it because once you get a job, coming up pretty soon, you're not going to be able to take time off for a while. So we decided we'll do it together, and we'll leave Gary, watching the home fires, just keep making sure everything's fine at home. So yeah, so I am going to be able to do that. But you know what, Pete, it's like anything else. I want to take 4 days off. Well, my newsletter's due, so it's like, okay, now I got to speed that up. So the deadline for that,
That's how I feel when I go away.
It's like you have to do all this other stuff in advance of it.
All my scheduling has to get done. I got to prepare best ofs for all these shows.
That's right.
I do more work when I go on vacation than when I go on than a regular week.
Yeah. I mean, normally
prepping for that.
Yeah. My deadline for my newsletter, I would have gotten that to Jim Corwin on Sunday, but now I have to have that done tomorrow, which means, I'm pressuring my staff. It's like, get me the information I need.
Right.
The grant, which is due when I get back, again, I would have had some extra time to do that, but it's like, nope, got to get that done.
Rush, yeah.
And we have this saying over at the senior center among the staff. It's like, I want to get things done ahead of time in case I get hit by a bus, so nobody's stuck with this.
I thought about that. It's like, what happens if I was just to disappear tomorrow?
Yeah, exactly.
That would be a scary thought right now.
Or just something really, oddball happens, or you get
just
sick where you're out for, 2 weeks. It's like, oh my God, so we're always trying to stay ahead of the curve. I don't like to, if I have a deadline at a certain time, I like to have, if I can get it done like a week sooner or something like that, just to give myself a cushion. So, yeah. Well, you know what? But I think the city needs to know that's what we do, Pete. It's not.
I know.
Because I think some people feel like, well, we're 8:30 to 4:30. My God, I haven't left at 4:30 in 10 years. I mean, it's just, it doesn't usually end at 4:30.
Yeah, I've been really working on trying to get away on time or close to being on time, unless. Or if I have something at night, I go get out for a couple hours and come back. But I'm trying to stay to 50 hours.
Yeah, I know. But it's hard to do that, isn't it? I mean, it's a challenge. You really have to plan ahead and be disciplined and say to yourself, okay.
Or something falls through the cracks.
Yeah.
If you don't.
Yeah. You know what it is?
That's happened too, and unfortunately that's happened too, but, it does happen.
Well, I'm going to guess too, because now we're in, our listeners know, I think that we're broadcasting live from Westfield Technical Academy, and this is now your studio.
Right.
So, the senior center, I treat the senior center like my house. So before I leave, I'll be, shutting things down and checking things. And then it's like, then I see something that I need to do. Oh yeah, I forgot I wanted to do this before I left today. It's the same thing at my house before I go to bed at night. It's like I get ready to go to bed, and then you're going room to room going, oh yeah, I meant to do that. Oh yeah, I forgot I have clothes in the dryer that I want to fold before and it's the same thing at the senior center. I feel like I'm keeping house at 2 places. But
yeah.
It's okay.
Well.
It's all right. That's what I do. It's me. Anyway,
I'm trying to get the students when they come back to buy in and help me put stuff away.
I think that would be a wonderful
idea. Put it together and they see how it goes and how things go and how things go when they first put them together.
Yep.
And so that's kind of why I'm leaving boxes, but I have storage now. So, we're working that out too.
Yes, absolutely. And you know what? The students they can be really great at that kind of stuff. I have a couple of volunteers that help me out. I have my 2 Wednesday afternoon volunteers, Susanna and Grace, and they're both from the middle school. And I was talking to Grace's mom. She works at City Hall. And I was talking to Jerry yesterday. And I said, I give those 2 girls the same kinds of tasks and jobs that I give the college students. Sometimes I give them to the girls over the college. They are just, I only have to tell them once, show them once, and it's done. And I have, Pete, I've given them, it's like, okay, here's the games room. I have 2 big closets in the games rooms. And, a couple times a year, we got to clean them all out, sort it all out. They are phenomenal. They take everything out. They'll spread it all out in the multi-purpose room, reorganize everything, get rid of what we don't need anymore. So, yeah, have the students help out. I think that would be,
well, it gives them some
idea.
investiture when they're using the equipment to see how it comes out of the box and how it goes into kits and things like that to put it back the way it was.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll get that, so maybe you won't. I don't know.
Well, all you can do is try it.
Right, so, exactly.
Yeah. All right, let's do a couple famous birthdays before we take our first break so that people know why we've chosen the music that I've chosen.
Yeah.
I do. Okay, so it's February 19th, and we have a lot of singers that were born today, which is always kind of fun. So it's the birthday of the late Bobby Engman. He was born February 19th, 1936 in Highland Park, Michigan. He died January 21st, 2013 at the age of 77. Bob Engman had a smooth voice and eyes that melted female hearts from half a concert hall away. The tight harmonies he sang with fellow artists Jim Pike and Tony Brutala were the things young love was made of from the earliest days of the 1960s. Formed in the late 1950s, his group, the Lettermen, were unknown until they signed with Capitol Records in 1961. Included in the numerous hits Engman enjoyed crooning were When I Fall in Love and Theme from a Summer Place. And there were so many. I mean, the Lettermen had a lot of hits. Mm-hmm. Billboard magazine called the Lettermen the #1 adult contemporary and romantic group of all time. They enjoyed 20 hit singles, 9 gold albums, 5 Grammy nominations, and sold more than $30 million in records. So happy birthday to the late Bobby Engman.
There you go.
I will do one more before we take our first break. It is also the birthday of singer-songwriter Lou Christie. He was born February 19th, 1943 in Glen Willard, Pennsylvania. He is 77 years old today. His real name is the name he was christened with, Luigi Alfredo Giovanni Sacco. You think he's Italian?
Sounds like JPEG Luca.
Luigi Alfredo Giovanni Sacco, known professionally as Lou Christie, is an American singer-songwriter best known for 3 separate strings of pop hits in the 1960s. Lightning Strikes, that was probably his most popular, we'll play that one in a few minutes, reached #1 in the United States on Christie's 23rd birthday, February 19th, 1966. It entered the UK top 20, becoming the first hit in that country, becoming his first hit in that country, and it peaked at #1 in Canada. So not bad for a 23-year-old, back in the 1960s. The song featured his signature falsetto and included a famous female chorus shouting "stop" in counterpoint to the lead vocal. So we'll hear that when we listen to the song. Other hits included I'm Gonna Make You Mine and Two Faces Have I. And you would recognize all of those. If I played those, you'd recognize all of them. And yeah, he does have that really high, falsetto voice. So that's Lou Christie. So we'll listen to him a little bit later. But the first break, we're going to listen to the Lettermen, Theme from a Summer Place. This is just a really pretty song. All of their songs were really beautiful, romantic songs. So it's 6:14. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC channel 15 on your cable channel. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
There's a summer place where it may rain or storm, yet I'm safe and warm. For within that summer place, your arms reach out to me, and my heart is free from all care. Skies when seen through the eyes of those who are blessed with love, and the sweet secret of a summer place is that it's anywhere when two people share all their hopes, all their dreams, all their joys. There's a summer place where it may rain or storm, yet I'm safe and warm. For within that summer place, your arms reach out to me, and my heart is free from all care. For it knows there are no gloomy skies when seen through the eyes of those who are blessed with love, and the sweet secret of a summer place is that it's anywhere when two people share all their hopes, all their dreams, a summer place where it may rain or storm, yet I'm safe and warm in your arms, in your arms, in your arms, in your arms.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Join us the third Wednesday of every month with Selectman Joe Didi and his take on everything Southwick.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:17. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses, WCPC Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and first hour, I'm here with producer Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
And second hour, just for those of you who like to plan ahead, my guest will be Joyce Peregrine. Joyce is the companion program coordinator over at the Council on Aging. She replaced Fran Aguda, if it was possible to replace Fran. Fran ran that program for many years, and I realized, Pete, this year I was going through some old files. I'll have to probably talk about this with Joyce, but the companion program is 30 years old. It is now 30 years old. Yeah, I remember when Fran was there, and we celebrated the 20th anniversary. We had a big deal. We, had a dinner, and we brought back a lot of the original volunteer companions for that celebration. Cool. And of course, now some of them have passed away, and some of them, because the original ones, it would be 30 years. So that's a long time. And most of our volunteers, I would say the majority of our volunteers are older adults themselves. Many of them are newly retired and,
Sure.
Kind of looking to help out. So anyway, Joyce and I are going to talk about that. We're going to talk about volunteering with that program where, our focus will be on the volunteer aspect as opposed to on the client aspect, because we're never short of clients for that program, but we are sometimes in need of volunteers for that program.
Right.
So Joyce will be joining us the second hour. So in the meantime, though, we have some, plenty of announcements. Although, I have to say, Pete, it's interesting. We have a lot going on at the Senior Center, a lot that we've planned starting this month. Some things actually starting today, so we'll talk about that. But
Okay.
But I feel like the city is a little. Do you feel like it's a little quiet? Not a whole. I feel like there's going to be this onslaught pretty soon because it starts to build. All of the.
This is the kind of indoor season for music and things like that.
Right, it is. So
where the bars and clubs are promoting their own.
Yes.
We're kind of in a lull with Gaslight Entertainment.
Yep. And with Artworks and with WOW,
Artworks
there's
is getting gear up for something.
Right. They all start to really hit the streets, I feel like, in March and April. So things ought to start happening.
And the Amelia Park season starts, and
Yes.
the Stanley Park season starts, and things like that.
We do have, one of the things that we have to look forward to on March 7th, which is the first Saturday in March, will be the chocolate chowder and chili cook-off.
Right.
So that's going to be a lot of fun. For those of you who have never done that, that's sponsored by the YMCA. It's a fundraiser for the Y, and this year the proceeds are going to their Livestrong program, which is I
think that was the same as last year.
I believe that it was the same as last year. So the Livestrong program is for cancer survivors who have gone through treatment. And, if you know what that process is like, it's easy to become really deconditioned because, you just oftentimes, you get weaker. There are a lot of times there's eating problems, while you're undergoing those kinds of treatments. So after the person has gone through that, the Livestrong program is a program where they can slowly kind of get their strength back, get back in the gym. And so that program is offered free of charge for those survivors. But of course, you have to run the program. They need staff and so forth. So the proceeds from this year's chili cook-off will go toward the Livestrong program. So the way this works is you purchase a ticket. You can get them at the door for $10. I think you can get them in advance for $8 at the YMCA. Last year, I think the YMCA...
Good deal either way.
Yeah, I think the YMCA gave us some ahead of time to sell ahead of time. I don't know if they're going to do that again at the senior center. So
Yep.
And then the morning of, I think it goes from 11:30 to 1:30, something like that.
Yeah.
So you go with your ticket, and then your admission ticket gives you free access to all of the booths and where all of our chilies and chowders and chocolates. Yeah, and as Pete said, you try what you want. You can just get a little cup. You can go back for seconds if you really like one, and then you vote for your favorite in each of those categories.
And Channel 15 will be there.
Channel 15 will be there
I'm
voting and
taking
sampling.
the day off from Mount Holyoke
Yeah.
to go with Chef John Slattery and Ken Stomsky as our hosts.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and you can follow the Channel 15 camera around, and you can throw your 2 cents in. They're always looking for people to step up to the microphone and tell them what they think. So
last year we barely had time to do all the chilies.
Yeah, I mean there are a lot of booths, so you can really kind of fill up on a lot of food. So this year, last year the senior center did an entry, and of course the Westfield Police Department and the Westfield Fire Department always do entries. I did not know this last year when I mentioned it to Joanne and our kitchen crew and said, "Would you like to do this?" And then
fire versus police is always a big chili thing.
Very strong.
It's hotly contested.
Very strong competitors, Pete. Very strong competitors.
I know.
So this year, the Westfield Police Department has partnered with the Council on Aging. So I'm not going to tell you what their plan is, but we're doing this
Ganging
together.
up on the fire department, are you?
Well, we are kind of doing that. Yeah, we are kind of doing that. And just to throw it out there, so I'm putting an article in our March newsletter, our Voice of Experience newsletter, so I can really try to get those seniors to come out and vote for ours, because
stacking the deck to boot.
We're number one. Well, those fire guys, they get out there and they vote. And as Mark said, everybody loves the firemen. They're the EMTs too. They come out, they save your lives. So anyway, but it should be a lot of fun and a great fundraiser. So that will be
it is a lot of fun.
Saturday, March 7th. So that's something to really look forward to as we make our way through February and we head into March.
We need to see if we can get in there early and start early. Is what we need to do.
That would probably be a great idea, and I bet they would let you do that.
Yeah, I don't think they'll have a problem.
Yeah, I think they would let you do that because they have to set up, in advance, so the booths will be open.
Yep, some of them we'll hit what's open first and then go.
Sure,
back
and then you can go back and circle around. Yeah. It gets a little crowded in there, so
it does.
Just so you know.
It
does. It's a lot of fun. You'll see you'll see lots of people, as always. Everybody coming out for the cause. All right, so a little closer to home at the senior center this afternoon. We've been talking about this for about 6 weeks now, so we will have our first edition of our Sweet Relief Diabetic Support Group. So we're really excited about this. We had Jennifer Jaffune, Jenna is a registered dietitian and licensed nutritionist. She's going to be facilitating the group and coordinating the group. She has done this before, so she's a pro at it. So Jen had emailed me last night, Pete, and she said she was making some handouts for people, and she said and she has a PowerPoint presentation, so she needs the TV set up, and so she said I made 15 copies. Is that good? And I emailed her back and said, no, that's half the number that you need, because we had about 30 people sign up. So
that's great.
She's really excited about that, and I am as well. So, but if you didn't sign up, that's okay. You can jump in anyway. We're going to set up plenty of chairs for you. So the group will run on the third Wednesday of the month, which is where we are today, from 1 to 2:30 p.m. So again, today is the first day, and if you've been diagnosed with type 1 or type 2 diabetes, if you've been diagnosed as pre-diabetic, which Jen and I had talked about on the radio show a couple of weeks ago, all appropriate for you to join this support group. Because when others are in the same boat, sometimes that's really helpful for you.
Sure.
And Grace was asking last night. My daughter Grace was asking. We were talking about it. And she asked, she said, well, what do they do? What will they do? And as Jen had explained a couple of weeks ago when she was on the show, she'll have some educational information. There will be some sharing time. But she hopes that when people leave each month, that they'll leave with 1 or 2 new things that they've learned. And she'll also keep people kind of up to speed on the latest research and sort of the latest thinking about diabetes and how to manage diabetes and So I think it'll be beneficial for folks. So that is this afternoon from 1 to 2:30, and we're going to do that in the Great Room over at the Senior Center. Next Tuesday, so wanted to make sure that I talked about this today, because by the time we get to the show next week, we will have already done this. But we are having our second Vet to Vet Cafe. So this is for veterans from all eras. So it doesn't matter how old you are. You don't have to be a senior. And all branches of the service are welcome to this monthly informal social. And you might remember that back in November, we had our first, it's called a Vet to Vet Cafe. And these are popping up throughout the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Julie Barnes, who's our Director of Veteran Services for the city, has partnered with Bay State Health, actually, to bring the Vet to Vet Cafe concept to Westfield. And actually, the two women that are working on this with Julie had never done this at a senior center before. They've done it at skilled nursing facilities. So when Julie and I, we had a lot of questions about the format and so forth, and they said, well, we don't, we're used to doing it at a skilled nursing facility, and the people live there. The veterans are living there.
Right, kind of like what Beth does with the Memory Cafe.
Right, exactly, at Armbrook Village. So she said, so they said, this is different because people don't live at the senior center, other than me. I live at the senior center, but nobody else does.
Don't tell Gary that.
Right. No, Gary knows that for sure. But anyway, so we did the first one back in November, and we had no idea. We didn't know how many people would come and what they wanted. Well, it turned out to be this amazing success. I think we had something like 70 people who came. Now, at the first one, we also invited them to bring their spouses or their family if they wanted to, and some of them did. And we asked them, we had a short survey for them, and we asked them, how often would you like to meet? Do you want it to be more educational or more entertainment or more social? And it was the veterans themselves who said, we want to meet monthly. They loved it. And they said, and we just want it to be informal. We just want to be able to get together and, shoot the breeze.
That's what Long Meadow does, because my father-in-law does that. My ex-father-in-law does that over in Long Meadow.
Okay.
The veterans, they have a veterans group.
Okay.
And they get together monthly and have lunch.
Yeah. So we gave them options for different times of the day. So the way we're doing this one, it's from 2 to 3 p.m. on the fourth Tuesday of the month. It'll be next Tuesday, February 25th from 2 to 3. We'll have snacks, we'll have coffee and decaf and, different snacks and things. Actually, the snacks next week, I think vocational school, so they're going to be amazing.
Yep.
Because they do the most amazing baked goods and snacks and desserts.
Sure.
And it'll just be time for the guys to, sit around. We're going to put them in the great room. And then, they can let us know if at any point, do they want a movie or do they want a speaker or do they just want to, or want to mix it up a little bit. So Julie Barnes and I are working on that.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. So that's on Tuesday. I will put the flyers up at the Senior Center this week just for a reminder of our veterans there. But by all means, any veteran, you don't have to be a regular at the Senior Center for that.
Before you go on to the next announcement, have
Yes.
you looked outside and how light it is at 6:30?
Pete, it's so funny that you mentioned that because I started.
Remember when it was dark until 7:30?
Yes, and that was the whole reason that I started parking my car over next to one of the tech buses, because I used to park on the other side of the fence, but when I get here at 5:45, there are no outside lights that are working, and it was so dark. The one time I almost killed myself. I tripped in a pothole, and I just thought, I'm not going to turn my ankle. So I parked a little closer. I started parking closer because I thought, I'm out of here at 8 o'clock. I'm not taking up a spot.
Right, it's not a big deal.
But this morning, it was so funny that you said that, because this morning I pulled in and I went, hey, you know what? It's not as pitch black as it was like a month ago. At 5:30, 5:45 in the morning. So, yeah, you are right, Pete. We're already starting to see
bluish,
light.
dark blue sky out there.
Yeah, and it's really nice for me here, being in the studio here as opposed to at the college, because I couldn't see anything when I was at the college. It's an internal studio, and here we have windows.
Right.
Okay.
And we also have 82 degrees.
Yeah, I know.
We're still working on the temperature controls. They haven't been right. They had a planned power outage. They had something going on a couple streets away. They had to turn the power off to the building for about a half an hour to fix something on the electrical grid a couple streets away. And since then, the climate controls in here have been, as they say, lacking.
I know.
And I know Brian Frett's been working on it, but
okay. Well,
It's been 80 degrees every time I come in here in the morning.
Yeah. When I opened up the door, I thought, oh my gosh. So we have the window cracked a little bit, so it feels good.
Is it better now?
It is. It's much better. Yeah, much better. It is 6:31. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM, radio for the Westfield masses, WCPC Channel 15. We are going to listen to Lou Christie singing Lightning Strikes in honor of his birthday today.
You gotta understand, you're old enough to know the makings of a man. Listen to me, baby, it's hard to settle down. Am I asking too much for you to stick around? Every boy wants a girl he can trust to the very end. Baby, that's you, won't you wait? But till then, when I see lips begging to be kissed, I can't stop, I can't stop myself. Lightning striking again. Lightning striking again. Nature's taking over my one-track mind. Believe it or not, you're in my heart all the time. All the girls are saying that you'll end up a fool. For the time being, baby, live by my rules. When I settle down, I want one baby on my mind. Forgive and forget, and I'll make up for all lost time. If she's put together fine, and she's reading my mind, I can't stop, I can't stop myself. Lightning striking again. Lightning striking me again and again and There's a chapel in the pines waiting for us around the bend. Picture in your mind love forever. But till then, if she gives me a sign that she wants to make time, I can't stop, I can't stop myself.
Underwriting for Community Radio on WSKB is brought to you in part by Rockies. Over 30 convenient locations throughout Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Connecticut, and Florida. One of the nation's largest ACE dealers. Expertise and great product selection in paint, hardware, lawn and garden. That's Rockies. Rock solid service since 1926. On the web at rockies.com.
Hi, it's Bob Plass, and I have Wow, It's Tuesday. Every Tuesday, 6 to 8. Wow, it's Tuesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
I did it!
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
It is good morning, Westfield. It is 6:35. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Channel 15 on your cable channel. So, Pete, I have to ask a question about Bob's little promo there.
Yes.
I don't know what's funnier, Bob saying I did it, or who is the person laughing in the back? Is that
that's
you or
Jay.
Jay? That
That's
was Jay.
Jay.
Okay. I couldn't tell.
Yeah, that's JP. You can't mistake Jay's laugh.
Well, it was so funny. I always thought it was, and then I said, "Oh, well, maybe that was Pete." I didn't know if Jay was in the room when he did it, but
No,
I
I
thought that
keep
was
my
good.
mic shut for that.
Oh, gotcha.
Jay's mic. I don't know. I don't even know if Jay's mic was even open. I think I left it open just in case he wanted to say something. And but his laugh was so loud it didn't matter. It picked it up anyway.
That was great. That is just we chuckle every time we hear that, Pete.
And I'm not changing it. I told Bob there's no way, no how.
No.
That's quintessential.
That's great.
Wow, it's Tuesday.
Right. And I'm finally ready to do mine. So
okay.
We're good. Well, of course, you know me, because I could go on forever. So I was like, I think I only have 8 seconds. So I got it all. One sentence.
You do only have 8 seconds.
That's it. I got one sentence. That's it. So
right.
Tell me when we're ready to do that. All right. So before we do some more announcements, let's do a couple more birthdays. So again, I said we had a lot of singers born on February 19th. So this one is William Robinson, but we know him better as Smokey Robinson. So Smokey Robinson, singer, songwriter, record producer, was born February 19th, 1940 in Detroit, Michigan. He's 80 years old today. Hard to believe. Robinson was the founder and frontman of the Motown vocal group The Miracles, for which he was also chief songwriter and producer. In late 1960, the group recorded their first hit single, Shop Around, which became Motown's first million-selling hit record. Between 1960 and 1970, Smokey Robinson produced 26 top 40 hits with The Miracles, including several top 10 hits such as You've Really Got a Hold on Me, I Second That Emotion, and the group's only #1 hit during their Robinson years, The Tears of a Clown. Between 1962 and 1966, Robinson was also one of the major songwriters and producers for Motown, penning many hit singles for other artists.
I'm Mark Auerbach. Join me every Friday.
Uh-oh. Sorry, Mark.
No, that's
not
me.
your turn.
That's me.
Penning many hit singles such as You Beat Me to the Punch and My Guy. That was for Mary Wells. The Way You Do the Things You Do, My Girl, Since I Lost My Baby, and Get Ready. That was for The Temptations. Don't Mess with Bill and My Baby Must Be a Magician. That was for The Marvelettes. And Smokey Robinson also wrote I'll Be Doggone and Ain't That Peculiar for Marvin Gaye, and then a whole string of other songs for other artists. So he did a lot of not just his own singing with The Miracles, but writing songs during those years. Smokey Robinson was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1987 and was awarded the 2016 Library of Congress Gershwin Prize for his lifetime contributions to popular music. So happy 80th birthday to Smokey Robinson.
Wow.
So switching from music and artists to sports, today is also the birthday of Roger Goodell, Commissioner of the National Football League.
Hated Commissioner of the National Football League?
He probably is one of the more disliked people out there, but I thought, it's only fair. He was born... February 19th, 1959 in Jamestown, New York. So he's 61 years old today. Roger Goodell is an American businessman who is currently the commissioner of the National Football League, the NFL. He officially began his tenure on September 1st, 2006, just prior to the beginning of the 2006 NFL season. On December 6, 2017, the NFL announced that Goodell signed a new contract that will start in 2019. So that was last year.
Ka-ching.
Yeah. Commentators have described him as, quote, the most powerful man in sports.
That's probably true.
It probably is true. Yeah. Very controversial figure.
Multi-billion-dollar business. Billion-dollar business.
Yeah. So anyway, happy 61st birthday to Roger Goodell. Whether you like him or not, he does have a birthday today. So we just thought we'd throw that one out there.
He's probably celebrating in the Hamptons.
He probably is.
He does. I think they have a house in the Hamptons.
Well,
and they have a house in Maine, too.
Wouldn't surprise me. Yeah. I mean,
somebody said they have a house near the bushes.
He's a wealthy guy. I didn't really get into the background too much about how he ended up getting the position that he currently...
Yeah, because I don't think he was in the league before that.
I don't think so either. He was a businessman, and I don't know who found him, but he...
Well, it's the owners.
Yeah. And he was...
The owners have to vote on the commissioner.
Right, and he was unanimously voted in by the owner. I do know that there were 4 finalists. I think he was the 5th finalist. So there were 5. It was Goodell and 4 other people that the owners were voting on, and ultimately he got the top... He was one of the top spots, and then I guess they narrowed it down to 2, and then unanimously they nominated him back in 2006. So.
Joy.
Yeah. All right, but now let's switch back to musicians. So my last famous birthday for today is...
And then we can try your cross promo.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that'd be great.
Okay.
So is Seal, singer-songwriter Seal. He was born February 19th, 1963 in London. So he's 57 years old today. And when I tell you what his real name is, you'll understand why he goes by the name Seal. So he's from Nigeria, and his real name is Seal Henry, that's one word, Olusegun Olumide Adiola Samuel. His last name is Samuel.
Common spelling.
1, 2, 3, 4. So 5 names. So you know what? I'd go by Seal too. Which actually, because his first name is Seal Henry, all one word. So he just goes by Seal. So he is Nigerian. He was raised in foster care for a time before being brought up by his stepmother and father, a difficult, angry figure who was physically abusive. Seal earned a degree in architecture and worked various jobs before pursuing music, working with the band Push and traveling to Japan, Thailand, and India. By the time he was 23, he had developed scars on his face as a result of a rare form of lupus. Seal went on to score a major hit in the United Kingdom. The hit was called Killer, before releasing his 1991 debut album. Hits include Crazy, Prayer for the Dying, and A Kiss from a Rose, which won multiple Grammy Awards. He was married to supermodel and TV host Heidi Klum for several years. So, happy 57th birthday to Seal, and we will hear Kiss from a Rose a little bit later,
One
second
more
hour.
local famous birthday.
Okay, what?
Yesterday was Rick Barry's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday, Rick.
53 for Rick.
Oh my God, he's a kid. He's a teenager in my world. Oh,
okay,
my
then
goodness.
I'm younger than he is, but...
Oh, you're younger than he is?
Yeah, I'm only 49.
Oh, my God, Pete, you haven't even hit the big 50. But
No,
next
that's
year.
next year.
Oh, Pete.
I plan on being somewhere warm for my birthday again.
I'm trying to remember. I was at a meeting with the department heads last week, and we were talking about somebody else who was turning 50, because I remember saying to them, "Oh, you're going to start getting things from AARP, because you can join AARP when you turn 50, the senior center when you turn 60, and you get Medicare when you're 65."
I don't know if that's a good thing or not.
Yeah, well,
I'm on the back 9 now.
Well, the thing about turning 50, if you do want to join AARP, there are a lot of decent discounts involved with that, Pete. So just so you know,
AAA member, is that good enough?
Well, you know what, and I am not actually technically a member of AARP. They keep sending me cards and things like that. But yes, because I am also a AAA member, and I do feel like that's enough.
Yeah, that's good enough for now.
Yeah, that's good enough for now. I remember Mike Knappich, when the former senator turned 50. He said to me, "Tina, why am I getting all that?" He started getting stuff from AARP like 6 months before he turned 50.
I've been getting it for years.
Have
my
you?
dad has the same name.
Oh.
We're both Peter Anthony Coles, and I was never technically designated as a junior.
Ah.
Legally.
Really?
Yeah. So I would get stuff from my dad all the time. Matter of fact, his driver's license, after he passed away, somehow became my old address on the south side of town.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a really nice name. I never knew your middle name was Anthony.
Yes.
I have never heard that combination together, Peter Anthony. That's really a nice name.
That was almost my radio name. But in this market, at the time, Rob Kopech was Rob Anthony.
Yes.
And he was on a competitor. And they couldn't, at HYN, they couldn't use it. And they said, well, Pete Coles isn't bad. Peter Coles doesn't sound good.
Right, Pete Coles.
Pete Coles was okay. And that was my FM name at HYN.
That sounds good. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Wow. Oh, I really like that. Well, my middle name, because my real name is Christine, not Christina. It's Christine. Don't ask me why my parents did that. But my middle name is Jude, as in hay. Okay. Because I was named after St. Jude, even though St. Jude was a male figure, but St. Jude was the saint of the impossible. And my mother had 4 miscarriages between my older brother. I have 2 older brothers, but between my next older brother and myself.
So you're the impossible child.
She prayed to St. Jude and promised that if this pregnancy went to term, which obviously did, because here I am, that she would name, male or female, she would name the baby Jude. So that's my middle name. So it's Christine Jude.
Okay.
So, yeah. But it's kind of cool. You know, it's a little... Because most people, when I was growing up, would say, oh, your middle name is Judy. I said, no, Jude. And if you're not Catholic, you don't necessarily know St.
that.
Jude.
Sure, yeah.
But when the Beatles came out with Hey Jude, that was it. I was like, Jude, as in hey. And everybody went, oh, okay, Hey Jude. I get it.
There you go, yep.
Yeah, so there it is.
All right, you ready to give this a shot?
I am ready to give this a shot. Hold on, I have to get my little cheat sheet out here.
Okay. Because what I'll do is I'll go silent and hit record, and then you won't hear any playback. It's just you have about 9 seconds.
Okay, here we go. Jude, just signal me. Give me a signal of when I can do this.
All right, ready? 3, 2, 1.
Join me, Tina Gorman, each week from 6 to 8 a.m. for Wake Up Wednesday, when my guests and I discuss health, wellness, and lifestyle reimagined.
You may have jumped it. Let's find out. We'll turn back on all the playbacks. Talk amongst yourselves.
Pete and I are playing. We're playing over here, and we'll see if I got this done. So
Are they ready?
Yeah.
Oh, I turned it down. Duh.
Okay, turn it up.
Okay, let's see. I didn't want it feeding back, so I turned it down. Let's try it again.
Join me, Tina Gorman, each week from 6 to 8.
Gotta take a pause.
One more?
Yep, let me just re-rack.
Take 2.
Let me re-rack here.
But did I didn't go over my 8 seconds, did I? Or my 9
no,
seconds?
No, you're
okay,
fine.
I'm good. Okay, that's probably why I jumped it. All right, so you give me the...
I'm just going to cue you by hand here.
Okay.
All right, record set.
Join me, Tina Gorman, each week from 6 to 8 a.m. for Wake Up Wednesday, when my guests and I discuss health, wellness, and lifestyle reimagined.
Good. Let me trim it here. Do my editing thing now.
I know. This is so fun. I know. I have to have like my own little promo. Everybody else is, on board.
Everybody
here.
else has done theirs.
I know. They did it.
I gotta
months ago.
dig out Rob Goff's or have him redo it. But.
My problem is that I had to really whittle this down. So I know because there was a lot to say, but I feel like I got it all in there. One sentence.
You did actually.
Got it all in.
All right.
The whole gist of the show.
All right, here we go. Playback time.
Okay. Join me, Tina Gorman, each week from 6 to 8 a.m. for Wake Up Wednesday, when my guests and I discuss health, wellness, and lifestyle reimagined.
Community Radio.
89.5.
Yeah, you hit it.
WSKB.
There you go. Done.
Nailed it. All right. We going to listen to some music?
Give me 1 second to save it. I want to make sure I save it.
Yes, please save it.
Okay, now I'm ready.
All right, so we're going to listen to Smokey Robinson and the Miracles singing I Second That Emotion.
And a taste of honey's worse than running
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Comcast and Xfinity.com, offering Xfinity TV, Internet, home phone, and home security services. Information on all that Xfinity has to offer in the Westfield area is available online at Xfinity.com.
Join me, Tina Gorman, each week from 6 to 8 a.m. for Wake Up Wednesday, when my guests and I discuss health, wellness, and lifestyle reimagined.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:52. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Channel 15 on your cable channel. My name is Tina Gorman, and I am your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm studio this first hour with Pete Coles. Good morning again, producer Pete.
Good morning.
So, Pete, by the way, so for this week, as I mentioned before, my guest second hour will be Joyce Peregrine, the companion program coordinator for the volunteer companion program, which we run over at the Westfield Senior Center. So we'll be talking about that and lots of volunteering opportunities. Next week, my guests will be, I have some folks coming in from the Wound Care Center, the Holyoke Wound Care Center.
Yes.
Did you get my email about that?
Yeah, I got to get a hold of them, yep.
Yeah, because they were, wanting to tape and do all this stuff. And then Ann Johnson is... Ann Johnson actually is the person that you're going to call. She used to be the executive director at the Arbors until I think Ann left about a year ago, and is now working, I found out, obviously, over at the Holyoke Wound Care Center.
Okay.
So anyway, Ann had contacted me and originally thought it was just radio, and some of the folks from Holyoke Hospital wanted to know if they could tape it or whatever. And Ann said, but when she saw my email, she said, "Oh, now I realize that it's channel,
a little bit more than that.
It's a little bit more than that." So I said, that's producer Pete. Like, you need to, talk to him about it. He'll call you.
Yeah.
So anyway, okay, make sure you do that. So some announcements. So next week at the Senior Center, we are having Wacky Tacky Pajama Day. It's our Wacky Tacky Pajama Day party. So our Wacky Tacky Day is when we clean out the closets, which we have done. I had my two 8th grade volunteers, the ones that do everything for me.
Sure.
Well, they put together some really fun door prizes because we also went into the, people donate gifts to us. They all
the prize closet?
Yeah, the prize closet. And they all go into a box. And we utilize them throughout the year. Some of them we use for specific events and parties. And the ones that we don't use for anything specific get put into the Wacky Tacky party box. So they made up, and I gave them all the stuff, and I gave them bags and tissue paper and ribbons, and I said, all right, you guys figure it all out. So I don't even know, as I'm giving out those prizes, I don't even know what's in any of the bags. They're different sizes and different colors and different, different holidays. So yeah, it's lots of fun. So anyway, we still have about 15 tickets left for that party next week. We are not sold. We are not sold out yet. The entertainment is going to be wonderful. It's Richie Mitnick and Brad Shepard, which I can't think of, two better people to be performing at a Wacky Tacky party.
Yeah, they're a resident comedy team.
They are, and they did it last year, and they loved it. And this year, I said to Brad, well, last year the theme was Westfield because it was the 350th, so everybody wore something Westfield. This year, the theme is pajamas, so you can wear a pajama top, you can wear flannel pajama bottoms, you can wear a bathrobe over your street clothes, you can wear your slippers.
Brad's going to look like Hugh Hefner, I guarantee it.
So I said to Brad, find those jammies because, it's anything goes here at the Senior Center.
He's going to look like Hugh Hefner.
We're going to find out. I will take pictures and
that smoking
let you know.
jacket thing up because that's Brad's style.
That is kind of his style. Well, maybe I'll send him an email and say this is what we're expecting, but maybe he'll surprise us. Who knows?
Let him do his thing.
Let him do his thing.
I'm just saying that would be my odds-on favorite.
We're going to find out.
He'd have that long, kind of robe thing going on. It'd be velvet.
Maybe like a burgundy or a black. Oh yeah, I got the whole thing. Yeah, I got it. I got the whole thing. We're going to find out, Pete. So that's going to be next Thursday, February 27th. The entertainment goes from 11 to 12. And then, of course, we start serving the meal at 12 and dinner for this party, which is why I'm shocked that it hasn't sold out yet. roasted turkey and gravy. We're doing a turkey dinner, cornbread stuffing.
What is that again? I'm going to put it on my calendar.
Thursday, February 27th. Sweet mashed potatoes, cranberry sauce, and Joanne's making Oreo dirt and worm cups for dessert. Don't ask me what's in them. It'll be delicious. It sounds awful because it's Wacky Tacky Day, so she had to come up with something. So tickets are $5. You can purchase no more than 4 tickets per person. And again, we've got about 15 tickets left. I counted them last night before I left. But now that I've announced it, we probably won't have many left, by tomorrow. So if you want to come to this year's Wacky Tacky Pajama Party, come on down. We are also selling tickets. We just started selling tickets last week for our Lunch and Learn during Retire the Fire Week. And we did that because it's early in March, so I didn't want to wait for the March newsletter, so we started selling tickets. We have Deputy Fire Chief Benjamin Warren is going to be doing the presentation this year. Ben has been the fire prevention officer for just about a year now, because last year Chief Egloff, who was then acting Chief Egloff, did the senior safety presentation. Ben
he had come out of prevention previously for years.
Correct. Oh my gosh, Pat was the fire prevention officer when I started the Retire the Fire program, and Pat and I worked together on that program. I want to say, Pete, for about 4 years at least. And then we've gone through a few others. Eric Bishop was fire prevention officer. Seth Ellis was fire prevention officer. And the latest one is Ben Warren, who Chief Egloff has assured me that Ben will be in that position.
Ben's a good guy,
Yeah, for a few years. Oh, he's wonderful. I love working with him. He chose his topic. I asked him what he thought, what he wanted to talk about. He didn't even hesitate, Pete. He said, we're going to talk about preventing electrical fires at home because we have seen a rash of them this year.
I believe that.
He said we've seen an uptick in that. We've seen space heater fires, just a lot of dangerous things going on with electricity. And he said, I want people to have a better understanding of how to be safe. So that luncheon is going to be Thursday, March 5th. Of course, the way we do our Lunch and Learn is that we serve the entree, and then there's about a 20-minute educational presentation that Ben will do. And then following that will be dessert. So the menu for the Lunch and Learn is Yankee pot roast, gravy, mashed potatoes, mixed vegetables, and for dessert we have sunny Florida citrus mousse. If we can't be in Florida, we can at least have something light and citrusy that tastes like we're in Florida. That's the philosophy behind that. The tickets are $3. It's just our regular lunch price. There's no added cost to that. They may be purchased in advance, and as I said, we've started selling them, and I would say we've already sold about a third of those tickets. So we will sell tickets the day of the event if we have any left, but with Yankee Pot Roast, I really don't think we're going to have any left by March 5th, which is still a few weeks away. So go ahead and get those tickets. And again, you can purchase, that ticket right at the greeter's desk. So that is the March 5th Lunch and Learn. And I'm just going to do a little teaser here and let you know that we've never done this before, but we had a golden opportunity to have another very special Lunch and Learn. We're going to be doing that the following week. That one will be in the March newsletter, so I'm not going to give you advance, but it is going to be very unique. The meal is also going to be one of those meals that those tickets are going to sell very quickly, but we're not going to sell them until after the newsletter comes out on the 29th of February. So stay tuned for that. That's a little teaser. It is 7 o'clock. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM, Radio for the Westfield Masses, WCPC Channel 15. We will be back.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield. Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Bay State Dental. Comprehensive dentistry at 14 convenient locations in Springfield, Chicopee, Longmeadow, West Springfield, Belchertown, East Longmeadow, Ludlow, Northampton, Greenfield, and Wilbraham, as well as 29 Broad Street in Westfield. Bay State Dental makes it a priority to help you achieve and maintain the healthy smile you deserve. On the web at baystatedental.com.
Join us the third Wednesday of every month with Selectman Joe Didi and his take on everything Southwick.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:03. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses, WCPC Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and it is Wednesday, February 19th, so we're kind of on that backside of February, speeding toward March.
Less than a month, just over a month until I get my head shaved.
I know, Pete. I know. Next week we'll have to start talking about the St. Baldrick's thing next month.
Yep.
Okay, we're getting there. So you're growing the hair out now, right?
Yes.
This is the grow time.
Yes.
All right. So we have a couple of we have a few we actually have a national day, and then we also have a national month. So let's talk about February 19th is National Vet Girls Rise Day. So National Vet Girls Rise Day. So my curiosity was piqued. I had to figure out what the heck is this.
Yeah.
So on February 19th, National Vet Girls Rise Day recognizes the immense dedication of the nearly 2 million U.S. veteran women. Not only is this a day to recognize women veterans, it's also a day for women veterans to support one another and to share resources, build relationships, and spread awareness concerning the needs of women veterans. Since the Revolutionary War, women have served in the armed forces, and many have not been recognized for their service. Today, the contributions of nearly 2 million women veterans deserve acknowledgement. The day celebrates the bonds they formed and their experiences through military service, honoring their accomplishments, skills, and essential contributions both in the military and civilian fields elevate the place of the women veteran to her proper position. So, happy National Vet Girls Rise Day. And it's interesting, Pete. I've had this conversation with Julie Barnes, who is our Director of Veteran Services here for the city of Westfield. And Julie said those who don't know her will often come into the veterans office. Her office and James Jordan, who also works in veterans, are right next to each other. And many people assume that Julie is the secretary and James is the Director of Veteran Services because she's a female and he's a male.
Right,
and,
they don't know her, yeah.
Yeah, and they don't know her and are, always surprised to learn that she has served. So anyway, Interesting day, National Vet Girls Rise Day. It is also, February is also Bake for Family Fun Month, which I thought this was really kind of a fun one, and I know I've done this one before.
Okay.
Warm up the home and bring the family together in February during Bake for Family Fun Month. Everyone has an opportunity to get in the fun when you divide up the responsibilities and break down the steps. I just thought this would be a really good one because it's school vacation week. So for those who are sort of looking for something to do with your kids, this is a great opportunity.
Let me go grab Joyce. Hold on.
Okay. Depending on the size and age of your family, choose kid-friendly recipes. Pick a day of the week that's flexible and let everyone take turns with the dirty jobs. While having fun with the family, children will practice many skills. Older children will polish up their reading skills or their reading abilities. Following instructions becomes a practiced skill, and everyone will hone up on their chemistry and their mathematics. They'll have so much fun, they won't even realize that they're learning. After all the baking and cleaning up, settle down to savor the results. Enjoy all the family closeness and delicious rewards. Spend time with the family baking this month, whether you bake with your children or invite grandparents or siblings over for baking sessions. Don't hesitate to make memories with each other. So, this is really interesting. I chose this one, and my niece, who I'm going to be going to visit down in Maryland, her son will turn 4, and she has had him helping with food preparation since he was like 2.5. She has a stool in the kitchen, and even like the food processor, like he'll push the carrots, he'll just kind of put the carrots. She obviously gives him things that he can do, that he's safe to do.
Sure.
But she's also teaching him kitchen safety and, not going too close to the stove and, using beaters and things like that, like he's allowed to, hold her hand when she does it. But he loves it. And I think that's really, as we pointed out, you're using math skills and reading skills and reasoning
baking
skills.
Is art and science.
Yes, it certainly is.
Because if you're doing it from scratch, you can screw it up.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And it's not hard to screw it up.
No, it's not. But you know what? If you start with some simple recipes, and there are plenty of children's cookbooks, and just you can go online and on the National Day calendar website, they have they'll link you in to kid-friendly recipes. So
sure.
Go ahead and enjoy that. A couple more announcements before we take a break and get to our first guest. I have 3 announcements. One is the Council on Aging Board of Directors just officially granted permission to CSF Westfield to do their annual shredding event in the Senior Center parking lot.
Okay.
So that will happen on Saturday, April 18th from 9 to 12 or until the truck is full. So I'm only mentioning this now, and we will announce this. I will continue to announce this right up until mid-April. Usually this event is done right after tax season so that you can shred some of those those old tax documents that you don't need anymore. You can get those shredded. But I give people plenty of advance warning so that you can begin to go through your personal financial records, anything that has bank statements, bank numbers, Medicare numbers, Social Security numbers, home address and phone numbers, things like that. So anything that you want shredded, this will give you about, you'll have almost 2 months to start getting those in order. We are already doing that. Karen Noblet is famous for this. She starts in January going through all the old records that we no longer need to keep.
Okay.
Because she does benefits coordination at the senior center. So she had probably more than any of my other staff. She has a lot of very private, information about people that we have to keep for a certain length of time. But once that time is up, we want to shred that, get rid of that. We don't want anybody's, identity stolen or anything. So you have plenty of time. That's going to be in mid-April. And again, we'll continue to make that announcement. Also remember that next Wednesday is Armbrook Village's, it's always the last Wednesday of the month, is their Alzheimer's support group. I've had this card for so often, but I've never really read out loud what it says on here. So dealing with Alzheimer's disease isn't easy, but it is helpful to share your concerns and personal experiences with others who completely understand what you're going through. You'll also learn about proven strategies to help you better care for your family member. So they meet on the last Wednesday of each month at 6 p.m. So it'll be next Wednesday will be the last Wednesday. You can call for more information, and you can RSVP over at Armbrook. Really easy phone number to remember, 568-0000. Doesn't get any easier than that. 568 with 4 zeros. They do serve light refreshments. And so this is hosted by the Compass Memory Support Group, our good friend Beth Cardillo over there. So that's next Wednesday. And finally, Chris Tulpa, my principal at Franklin School, is still looking for those band instruments. So as we start doing some spring cleaning, and if you're doing some winter cleaning out of closets, if you find any band instruments, nothing big, not a piano, not an organ, but, trombone, flute, trumpet, saxophone, those kinds of things. And you don't, it's like, what do I do with this? Bring it on down to the senior center and I'll make sure that Chris gets it. Okay. All right. My guest is here. So we're going to take our 7:15 break a few minutes earlier too, because this is kind of a long song. So we're going to listen to Seal singing "Kiss from a Rose."
Nope.
Nope, we're not. No, we're not. You're right. We're going to. I take that back. We are going to listen to. Sorry. Thanks, Pete. You're correcting me, and that's true.
Yeah.
We're going to listen to "Lean on Me" by Club Novo, and this is kind of a long version of the song. That's why I wanted to give it a couple extra minutes. This has to do with our guest topic, which is volunteering. So we're going to listen to "Lean on Me." We'll be back.
We all have pain. We all have sorrow. But if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me. We are not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. For it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Swallow your pride. If I have pain, you need to borrow. For no one can think of your needs that you won't mention. Lean on me. We are not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. For it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you understand. We all need somebody to lean on. Lean on me. When you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. For said it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. We be jamming, we be jamming, we be jamming. We be jamming, we be jamming, hey. We be jamming. Just call me when you need a friend. Oh, baby, now. When you need a friend. When you need a friend.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield. Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Comcast and Xfinity.com, offering Xfinity TV, Internet, home phone, and home security services. Information on all that Xfinity has to offer in the Westfield area is available online at Xfinity.com.
Join me, Tina Gorman, each week from 6 to 8 a.m. for Wake Up Wednesday, when my guests and I discuss health, wellness, and lifestyle reimagined.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:18. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm here at Westfield Technical Academy with the chairman of the board, producer Pete Coles, who has been with me since 6 a.m. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
Everything going okay back there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. And as I promised, my guest this hour is Joyce Peregrine. Joyce is the companion program coordinator at the Westfield Council on Aging. So I actually hired Joyce last year. I know her well, but you know what? I always like to start, Joyce, with a little background and bio. And it doesn't matter who I'm interviewing, even if it's somebody, I think the first time I interviewed my husband on this show, I said, okay, give us a little background. And I think he threw a few zingers in there that I was like, really? I never knew that. I've been married to you for, over 30 years. So, Joyce, let's talk a little bit about your background, because you've been now doing the companion program for a little over a year. Mm-hmm. But before that, you were doing other things. So let's start with, are you from this area? Where did you grow up? Where did you go to school?
Right.
Where did you work? All that good stuff.
So where did I work? So I was actually born in New Jersey, in Camden, New Jersey.
No way.
Yeah.
I was born in New Jersey.
Were you?
Yeah, see? Right off the bat.
I know.
Right out of
Very
the chute.
interesting.
Okay.
So I grew up in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. But we also, my father was an R&D engineer for digital and RCA. So we traveled a lot. It was almost like a military life. So we ended up.
Sounds like military.
Yeah. So we ended up in Camden, Maine, Nashua, New Hampshire, Acton, Mass, back down to New Jersey. We lived in Stony Hill, Ridgeway, Cherry Hill.
But always kind of in that northeast.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we ended up in Westfield. And when I was about 12, my father said, hey, to my mom, we're going to move out to California. And she said, no, we're not. But at that point, I have 4 older siblings. Half of them were in college in the Boston area. Man. And she was done traveling. So my father started a business locally. So we ended up staying in Westfield. My mom opened up a real estate office in Westfield. So Westfield from the age of 10.
Okay.
Funny coincidence, we moved to Westfield 1969.
Okay.
And that happened to be the 300th anniversary of Westfield. And we're driving into Westfield, and I said to my father, is that a cake on the green?
Oh, get out of here.
And he's like, yeah, it's a really cool place to live. They have cake. I'm like, awesome. It wasn't real. And 50 years later, I was on the 350th Westfield Anniversary Committee. So funny coincidence. So 50 years later, I'm still in Westfield. Married a local man. Had 4 children. All Westfield raised and Westfield gone. None of them live in the area. They went off to college and stayed out wherever
they went.
Took them. Yeah,
wow.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So I worked locally. I worked at my father's company in the accounting department when I got out of college.
Now, what was the business that your dad opened
Comar
up?
Communications. It's in Southwick, Mass. Okay. So he actually built broadcast equipment, Clystrons, TV stations.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Know it very well.
There you go, right?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, we've talked about this before.
Several local transmitters in the area belong to Comark.
Yeah, indeed.
Built by.
They're still producing them. It's Hitachi now.
Yep.
But so I had baby number 3 and decided it was really tough to work full time.
Okay.
So ended up staying home for about 2 years and decided that was fun, but not really. Love my kids, love them dearly, but I was a better mom working part time at least.
Okay.
And at that point, I went back to college because I did not have computers the first time I went to college.
Yes.
Nor did you.
No, I did not. Even when I went to graduate school, that was like a new
big mainframe and
oh my God, it took up a whole room, right?
Anti-static carpet.
And if we wanted to use any of that stuff, we had to go up to UMass. That was the only place in Western Mass. That was the only college. It was the only place. I did my graduate work at Springfield College. We didn't have any of that stuff there.
No. So I decided it was time for me to go back to school and perhaps brush up on at least computers, because everything was at that point even DOS driven.
Yes.
So I did. I actually wrote a thesis on the information highway because Al Gore was talking about the internet.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
So it was a while ago. You know
what was funny, Joyce, was I have my best friend from college, one of my college roommates, Linda Pesci. Her husband has been in sort of in that field for many years. And I remember him visiting us when Gary and I lived in the Boston area. And I remember Nick, at the time, he was working for AT&T, I think at the time, trying to explain the concept of the internet, which was not, it was just at that time a concept.
Sure.
And he's trying to explain to me, this is where we're heading. This is where we're going. And I could not for the life of me, picture, I couldn't get it. I was like, what do you mean? He said, well, you're going to be at a computer, which even the whole concept of computers was still relatively new. And so he said, you'll be able to look up anything you want to get information on. And I said, well, what do you mean? Like if I I said, like, if I wanted to get information on, a chair that I wanted to buy or a certain brand.
Right.
Oh, yeah, you'd be able to do that.
Yeah.
Well, what if I wanted to? I was just throwing out all this stuff, and
it
he
is
kept saying,
mind-boggling.
"You'll be able to do that. You'll be able to do that."
Yeah.
If I wanted to look up somebody's address, you'll be able to do that.
It's like thinking about the stars and keep going. It's
It
a
was
little
so
infinite,
funny at that
so
time
much.
when you put yourself back in that
Yeah.
time of Al Gore and the
Oh, yeah.
information highway and all that. It's like, huh?
I know. Anybody that I talk to about that with technology now is like, Al Gore,
Yeah, who,
information
what?
highway.
Yeah,
what
what
are
does
you
that
talking
mean?
about?
Yeah.
But it was very real for us.
Absolutely.
And so I did land a job at the Westfield Athenaeum as a part-time assistant to a librarian, and eventually became a public service librarian there after.
Now, had you
10
ever
years.
worked in a library before? Or
No, I mean, my field was accounting and business.
Okay.
But there was a little ad in the newspaper, and it was a part-time position at the Athenaeum, and I was there all the time with the kids, 4 kids.
Yes.
I
get
and
it.
I love to read.
Yeah.
And I did not love accounting. I didn't love being in an office and not communicating with other people.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to do something that was out there, meeting people and kind of making a difference as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I thrived at the Athenaeum. I loved being a
So
librarian.
what were you initially, because you were at the Athenaeum for how many years?
27?
It's a long time.
It's a long time.
So what were you, take us through that transition, because my guess is that what you ended up doing when you left 27 years later was not what they hired you for this little part-time job.
No.
So how
And
did
because
that,
so much changed, right? Technology again, right? So I was hired as an assistant to the librarian. So that consisted of a very part-time position and more customer service than anything. It's
Okay.
more of a check-in, check-out. And at that time, we had those huge card catalogs.
oh, yes.
So my off-desk responsibility was to do the cross-filing and indexing. So anything in reference. So nowadays, when we go on a computer and we go into a search engine, like the card catalog,
Yes.
and you type in Chevrolet, because I want to look at cars or whatever.
Okay.
You're going to see sub-indexes.
Yes.
So we would have a card for all those sub-indexes. So if you were thinking automobile, Chevrolet, American made, what
Trucks.
the year is.
Yeah.
You would have a card file for each one of those things.
Oh, good grief.
So if a book were lost or taken out of the collection because it needed to be updated, then you had to go and remove all those little cards.
Okay.
I remember doing that at Cathedral.
Oh, my
That was one of my
God.
jobs at Cathedral.
It is a great way to be the queen or king of a subject search.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Because you know all the keywords.
Yeah,
Yes.
if you did the cards, you knew where everything was.
Right?
my God.
Yeah. So that is really where I started.
Okay.
And then Mrs. Kramer was the director at that time. And about 5 years into it, I had like more responsibilities, but a full-time position came along and they were creating outreach. Interestingly
So
enough.
let's talk about that.
Yeah, so they created a position, outreach librarian, and I did not initially apply for it. It was a full-time position. I wasn't sure I was ready for that. And Hibbert, Mr. Hibbert.
Oh, gosh.
I know, it's so interesting. Who was a teacher in the
Okay.
school systems, was hired initially.
Okay.
And he had some surgery. He was unable to continue with the job about 4 months into it. And I had been really kind of helping him all along because the outreach program was created for library patrons who were homebound, who could no longer access the library because in the ADA compliant, you've got a building that's 1864 and 1920. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So we were doing home delivery for Westfield residents only. We had written a grant. We had a little Subaru station wagon.
Yeah.
Actually, at that time, I had a big bookmobile. People used to get out of my way when they saw me driving that.
Oh, my
But so we created a database and really went out and promoted the program. And I had, about 160 people that I was bringing library materials to. So whatever you would use the library for, was it reference, So did I need medical information? Did I need legal information? Did I want to do genealogy? Did I just simply want to read for the pure pleasure of it? I would bring those library materials to you.
And how often would you circulate through somebody?
Well, I mean, at that point, library materials were due every 3 weeks.
Okay.
So we started out with every 3 weeks, but quickly realized that we didn't want those materials out of circulation that long.
Oh, okay.
Because especially like bestsellers, things like that, they can be read rather quickly.
Yeah.
So we really started doing, it was really kind of my baby. I got to do whatever I wanted to do with it. And then, of course, as all jobs go, other things came my way. So they eventually created a position. I received a promotion as the circulation and outreach coordinator. So I was a supervisor of the circulation department, and then public services librarian, which meant that I had circulation, outreach, and also any public programming, any events.
Right. Yep.
Yeah,
Which, sounds really great, but not quite as much fun as the getting in the bookmobile and running around all day.
No, that was
just
fun.
Like that would be so fun.
And it was sweet, and it was rewarding, and it was also sad.
Yeah.
It was also sad. And I learned a lot from my experiences as an outreach librarian, and I learned an awful lot from my experiences with the public.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, working with the public.
All right, that's a good place to just kind of take a pause, take a breath, because then we're going to transition from all those great experiences to kind of what you're doing now. So let's take a break. It is 7:30. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses. So my song choice for this one, in honor of Joyce and her topic, is by Billy Swan, and it's I Can Help.
If you got a problem, don't care what it is. If you need a hand, I can assure you this. I can help. I got 2 strong arms. I can help. It would sure do me good to do you good. Let me help. It's a fact that people get lonely. Ain't nothing new, but a woman like you, baby, should never have the blues. Let me help. I got 2 for me. Let me help. It would sure do me good to do you good. Let me help. When I go to sleep at night, you're always a part of my dream. Holding me tight, telling me all you gotta do is call. You know how I feel about you. If I can do anything at all, let me help. If your child needs a dad, I can help. It would sure do me good, do you good, let me help. You're always a part of my dream. Holding me tight and telling me everything I wanna hear. Oh, don't forget me, baby. All you gotta do is call. You know how I feel about you. If I can do anything at all, let me help. A child needs a dad, I can help. It would sure do me good to do you good. Let me help.
Support for community radio on WSKB provided by Westfield Electroplating, Employing over 140 skilled platers, painters, and technicians, Westfield Electroplating was founded in 1946 and was the first company in the country to achieve National Aerospace and Defense Contractor Program accreditation, proudly maintaining that status for over a decade. Westfield Electroplating provides over 50 quality finishes to meet your corrosion, cosmetic, or performance needs. On the web at www.westfieldplating.com or 413-568-3716. Westfield Electroplating, putting the finishing touches on technology.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Bay State Dental. Comprehensive dentistry at 14 convenient locations in Springfield, Chicopee, Longmeadow, West Springfield, Belchertown, East Longmeadow, Ludlow, Northampton, Greenfield, and Wilbraham, as well as 29 Broad Street in Westfield. Bay State Dental makes it a priority to help you achieve and maintain the healthy smile you deserve. On the web at baystatedental.com.
Hi, it's Bob Plass, and I have Wow, It's Tuesday every Tuesday, 6 to 8. Wow, it's Tuesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
I did it!
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:35. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses, WCPC Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and my guest this hour is Joyce Peregrine. Joyce is the Companion Program Coordinator for the Volunteer Companion Program at the Council on Aging in Westfield, an agency that I know well, a department I know well. It's near and dear to my heart. So, Joyce, we talked a little bit about your background, and we talked about your position at the Athenaeum, and you were there for many, many years.
Many years.
And I, last year was in a bit of a tizzy because Fran Aguda, who had run our companion program for many years. Over 20.
And I had worked with her.
Just about 27 years, was retiring. And so there I was at City Hall going through the applications for that position. And we did separate out Fran's position. So she was actually the companion program coordinator. And then her unofficial, she sort of had an unofficial outreach coordinator title as well. But that really wasn't official, but she did all of that, and she and I had talked about a year and a half before she retired, and it was a planned retirement, so we had been planning this. We talked about separating that position, pulling out the volunteer companion piece, and doing that part-time, and then hiring a full-time outreach coordinator. So there I was last year at City Hall going through the applications for, they were coming in for the weeks, for a couple of weeks we ran the ad, and I'm pulling them out, and so I remember I had just gone through a batch, and somebody who was working in personnel handed me a couple more that had come in, and she said, "Oh, these just came in this morning." I can remember this like it was yesterday, Joyce. You'd be laughing. So I said, okay. So I looked at the first one. I kind of just skimmed over, the qualifications and the experience. Then I pulled the second one, and there was your name. And I remember, stop the printing presses. I have found my person. She goes, well, and whoever it was, because we've had a lot of turnover in personnel over the last few years, didn't know you and said, so is this somebody that you want to interview? I said, get her, call her, get her in here this afternoon. Get her right here. I said, oh my God, she'd be perfect for this, because I knew about your background at the Athenaeum.
We had actually been coordinating together. Yeah,
yes,
I reached out to you.
We had done programs together. I'm like, how did I not know she was?
Well, how did I not know that you were looking for somebody?
So let's talk about that. So you transitioned. You got the position,
right?
So you transitioned. So let's talk about this new position that you're doing now for the Council on Aging.
So I was ready to retire like 2 years earlier, and I had talked to Dan, my boss at the Athenaeum, and he was just coming in, and I had worked with Dan before, and he's like, give me a little time, and that way I can get acclimated, and then we'll talk again. So I had actively been looking for part-time positions, knowing that I wasn't ready for a full retirement, but I still wanted to work with people and provide them services and references in the area. That was the best part of my job as a librarian. And when I was talking to you, I was looking at Council on Aging because that is the group that I really adored. My outreach and homebound was largely the older adults.
Sure, yeah.
And so when I found out that Fran's part of that, and I also was a coordinator for volunteers at the Athenaeum for 10 years. So when I saw that position, it was like win, win, win. Not only do I get to stay in Westfield, where 50% of the companions and clients in the program are going to be my library patrons, I get to continue to provide great service to the older adults in my community. So it was like, this is like my dream job. How can this even be happening? And when you called and you were like, get in here. I want to talk to you. Why didn't you even ask me if you
Well, because I think too, you had asked me the week before to be a reference.
I did.
For another job that you were considering at a different COA. But at the time I'm thinking, wait a minute, I can't be a reference for my own job. Well, then I come to find out it was actually a different council.
Totally
in a different community.
Yeah.
That had some.
Well, you were funny because you were so vague and you said, sure. Where?
Well, yeah, because I was curious.
Where are you looking?
And I didn't know you were looking for part-time at the
Right.
time. So I thought, is there an executive director that's leaving? So I
Which
didn't
is
know.
absolutely not where I was headed.
No, but I didn't know that at the time.
Of course, yeah.
But here you
so
are.
So here I am.
So you are over a year into it.
I am. I'm actually like in my 15th month, if you can believe it. Not that I'm keeping track of the time.
I can. So let's talk about that.
Let's talk about that. So when I walked in, and it started the program, my first thoughts were, what have I gotten myself into?
There it is. We all think that, Joyce. Oh my God, what have I done?
It was a great time for you to reimagine the position that Fran had, and you were dividing it. And I think that anytime you create a new position, it's really hard to define, well, what are the parameters of this job? Because they had to be fluid, they had to be organic, and how is it going to be created? So I came in and I was working with Fran. I was blessed to have Fran for about a week or two. And she's so sweet and so accommodating. And this is what she lived and breathed. And then she wasn't there. And not only was she not there, but she had the nerve to go on this amazing cross-country trip.
Yeah, she was really not there. I mean, she wasn't even, usually you're a phone call away. She was not a phone call.
Right.
It's like, don't call me. I'm heading out west and I'll be back on a train ride. I think they did it by train.
Yeah.
So, it took a while.
Yeah, they were not, it was not a phone call away. Right. So I started with, and I started at the holidays, and I started with, a lot of the volunteers going to Florida for the winter, and I needed to get subs and flu season. It was really interesting, and on the cusp of a lot of the grants, and not like even at the beginning of a grant cycle, but in the middle of a grant cycle.
In the middle of a grant cycle. So here you go. I know you just started last week, but you have a quarterly report that's due for the CDBG.
Yes, exactly. And I'm very part-time.
Yes.
And I'm very part-time. So it was interesting trying to figure out what was going to be the most, what was my priority. So there came that skill as a librarian, as prioritizing, and as a supervisor, what needs to be addressed right now. And of course, the most important thing is taking care of our older adults, making sure that they have access to food, to shelter, to pharmaceuticals, and transportation to medical appointments. So, and who's the ones that were at most risk.
Yeah.
So, priorities. So I was able to do that in any situation at the library. We were constantly looking and addressing situations like that. And so I was able to focus on that and realize that, yes, okay, I am good. I am staying here. I can do this.
I have to tell you, Joyce, but you know what? I feel really badly because I always knew as things were unfolding. The other thing was, Fran was not a terrific record keeper.
She was a great record keeper,
but she kept records, but they were not super organized. So there were, I know because I had covered for her often enough to where I'm trying to find, there were lots of sticky notes with things like, plastered into the folder. And her filing system was not the same as the way I would file things. So oftentimes it took me a long time to find the client's file. Then when I finally did, I'm trying to read notes. Usually things were dated, but again, not typed and sort of stickies all over. So I threw all of that at you. I mean, it was like, I think about it now, and you're right. It was like flu season, people leaving for Florida, volunteers not there, and, the middle of everything.
Yeah.
And the reality was that because Fran was full-time, she had the luxury of saying, okay, this week I need to spend so many hours as the volunteer coordinator for the companion program, but I've got these other outreach things. Then there were other weeks where it was like, outreach was quiet. I can really devote 30 hours to the companion. And so with you, you're 18 hours
18
a week?
hours, yeah.
And that's it. That's what you've got. So I think one of the first things that was challenging for both the volunteers as well as the clients was you are not accessible 5 days a week.
Right. And it was tough for the staff too, because now here the staff is, people are calling and where do I put them?
Yeah, exactly. Who's going to take this call?
Who's going to take this call?
Yeah.
So we did we changed the schedule, which we tried to make it really consistent, 9 to 3, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. And that was a great step.
Yeah, I think that works really well. And I think people have gotten it. And certainly the new clients and the new volunteers, they don't know any differently.
Right.
So it's like, these are the days that Joyce is available. And on those extreme cases where we need something, we have Joanne Ortegas, our outreach coordinator, doing some backup for you. But at the time that you started, Joanne hadn't started.
No, she hadn't. She
was another one I threw to the wolves.
Yes.
Because she started and it was a brand new job technically.
But again, I think that was the perfect time to do that, because even if you had somebody who had been there for years and you took a portion of their job, there wouldn't be new ownership.
Yes.
So it was a great time to freshen it, look at it brand new, and really look at everything. So walked in, kind of kept things moving, but in a very disorganized, fragmented type way, but we got through it.
Yep.
And it was funny when Fran got back, I called her about something and she said, I just know. And I'm like, what do you mean you just know?
No.
And it was funny. I was talking to Joanne Ortegas, the outreach coordinator, and I said to her, I just know. I'm there a year now, and I just know. I know exactly what Fran meant.
Yeah.
So prioritizing all the clients, getting those organized, and then meeting all my volunteers. Mm-hmm. And establishing a relationship with them. Because the thing about volunteering is that it's not a full-time job.
Yeah.
It needs to be individualized for every single volunteer, because if you can't support your volunteers and say, hey, it's all right to say no to me, then you're not going to keep them. Okay. And without volunteers, we don't have a program.
Right.
So extremely important to talk to my volunteers, to always be there for my volunteers, and to be super nice to them so that they want to say yes.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the very specifics of volunteering. What do the volunteers do? How do you become a volunteer? What are the expectations on hours? So it is 7:46. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses. And as I promised about an hour ago, right, Peter, a half hour ago, this one is Kiss from a Rose by Seal.
There used to be a graying tower alone on the sea. You became the light on the dark side of me. Love remains a drug that's the high and not the pill. But did you know that when it snows, my eyes become large and the light that you shine can't be seen? I compare you to a kiss from a rose on the grave. Ooh, the more I get of you, the stranger it feels, yeah. And now that your rose is in bloom, a light hits the gloom on the grave. There is so much a man can tell you, so much he can say. You remain my power, my pleasure, my pain, baby. To me, you're like a grown addiction that I can't deny. Won't you tell me, is that healthy, baby? But did you know that when it snows, my eyes become large and the light that you shine can't be seen? A light hits the gloom on the grave. I've been kissed by a rose on the grave. I've been kissed by a rose on the grave. And if I should kiss by a rose on the grave, I've been kissed by a rose on the grave. There is so much a man can tell me, so much he can say. You remain my power, my pleasure, my pain. To me, you're like a grown addiction that I can't deny. Now won't you tell me, is that healthy, baby? But did you know that when it snows, my eyes become large and the light that you shine can't be seen? Baby, I can feel you to a kiss from a rose on the grave. Ooh, the more I get of you, the stranger it feels, yeah. Now that your rose is in bloom, a light hits the gloom on the grave. Yes, I can pay you to a kiss from a rose on the grave. Ooh, the more I get of you, the stranger it feels, yeah. Now that your rose is in bloom, a light hits the gloom on the grave. Now that your rose is in bloom, a light hits the gloom on the grave.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
Hi, this is Harry Rock, host of Rock on Westfield every fourth Wednesday at 8 a.m. Tune in for my view of this place I call home.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield, and welcome back. My guest this morning is Joyce Peregrine. Joyce is the Companion Program Coordinator at the Westfield Council on Aging. So, Joyce, we're talking about the Companion Program, which is basically, you mentioned before that you overlapped a lot of clients with the Athenaeum Outreach Program when you were doing outreach, because it's primarily for people that are homebound, not always, but generally homebound, frail, really in need of...
That need their independence, or trying to remain independent, but need some assistance to remain independent.
Okay, so that's on the client side. And sometime we'll bring you back and we'll talk about the client side.
Sure.
But this time we want to talk about the volunteer side. Right. So for those who want to volunteer in this program, what exactly do the volunteers do in the Companion Program?
So the volunteers can do any number of things. The three things that we provide services for is, one is medical transportation. So that's on an as-needed basis.
Okay.
So you do pick up clients, take them to a doctor's appointment, and bring them back home.
Okay.
So that can be very infrequently, perhaps once a month, twice a month. It's your call. You can tell me what day, what time. The other thing is a true companion. So we provide services 2 hours once a week, and that is to go out and do the things that you would normally do that would help you to stay independent. Take someone to the grocery store, post office, bank, maybe the pharmacy, depending what time frame you have, and then get them back home. And the other component is a friendly visit, and those are for our clients who truly can't leave the home. So there's 3 things that you could do as a volunteer, and we do ask that you try to commit yourself to at least one client if that's the choice that you make as a volunteer.
Okay.
So that's 2 hours once a week, or it could be every other week. Some folks don't need to get out more than once a week. So
how is that matching? Like, who does the matching process?
I do the matching process.
Okay, so you have a client over here with whatever needs they have.
And I've done an intake on. Okay. So I've gone out, interviewed them, made sure that they don't, there's no mobility issues, that they truly can get out and to what degree. And I talked to them for a little bit. So finding out what their personality is like, what their likes and dislikes are, what their situation is. And then when I talk to my volunteers, so there's a volunteer process. So call me, 562-6435, ask for Joyce Peregrine. And we do a phone interview. I send out a brochure. And then if the volunteer is still very interested, once they've read the brochure or have any questions, I have a volunteer application process.
Okay.
So they'll fill that out. There's a booklet in there. We go through everything. We sit down one-on-one. And that's my opportunity to really find out more about the volunteer and what they are looking to do. A lot of times we have volunteers that were clients who needed transportation for a hip replacement or knee replacement or vision. And they say, that was such a great service. I'd like to pay it back.
Okay. So they needed something maybe just on a short term. They're high functioning, but you got laid up for a month or so and needed some help with
100%.
Yeah, we do have a lot of even some of our newly retired seniors are having a knee replacement or a hip replacement, and they're fine otherwise. And once they go through that surgery and the rehab process, so those are some of the people that are coming back.
They are definitely some of the people that are coming back.
Hey, I use the program on the other side. Now I want to help out.
Yeah, exactly. And then again, some of our new volunteers are just retired. They've been retired for a year. They're looking for some way to commit or to help their community. And then a lot of times they've also lost a parent that they were helping to care for, and they realize the need to have support. So they want to provide that. And it's really rewarding because I really do try to match them. And it's funny, I sometimes say this isn't a dating service, but it's, it's a lot of fun.
Matching you anyway.
Yeah, right. I am matching them up, and you can just see it when it works. It's magical. When you bring a volunteer to a client's house for the first time, and they start talking, and when you see that relationship develop, it is a relationship. It's a friendship.
Yeah.
And they really make a difference. And we never take the place of family, but we support family. And in some cases, that one visit a week is like a family visit to our clients.
Yeah, and I think in some cases we have clients who have family, but they don't have family in the area.
Right.
We have clients who have family, 2 or 3 children. One's in Utah, one's in Florida, one's in
China.
California. Yeah,
we have some that are.
We have one that was in Germany. I mean, we have, and it's not that they're not supportive, wonderful kids who call and check in, but they can't physically be there.
Right.
So I'm going to play devil's advocate for just a minute, Joyce. But have you had a situation maybe where you matched a client with a volunteer and it didn't work out so well?
Yes, absolutely.
And so what happens?
Personalities are different, and also mobility issues. And I also have volunteers that I think are a little more fragile than some of the huskier, stronger volunteers that I have. So we do have a few things that we do. We do client intakes and we do volunteer intakes, and I always follow up and make sure, how did it go? What was good? What wasn't good? And sometimes personalities just don't drive. Just like, you can have a friend or a coworker that you got along with and then you don't. And in that situation, it's simply a replacement, reassignment of a volunteer. We don't want a volunteer to go out to visit somebody if they're not happy there.
Right.
And I do have a lot of volunteers that say, I didn't enjoy that.
Yeah.
And I'm volunteering because I want to enjoy it. So I'd really rather not take that client out. If you can't find anyone else, I'll do it. But I'd prefer not to have that client. And yet that client is great with 3 other volunteers. So it's personality driven.
Yep. Sometimes it's just finding the right match.
And the time too. I mean, a lot of our clients like to go out early in the morning, and I have a few volunteers I won't call before 11 o'clock.
Right.
Because they are late birds.
That is the beauty of volunteering. You can say no.
You can say no. Bless you.
Excuse me, I felt that sneeze coming on. Yeah. All right, so now let's talk about the volunteers use their own cars.
Right.
So do they have to pay their own gas?
No, we actually write grants.
How does that work?
So we do write some grants. We do have some money that we can provide a small stipend for. So that leads us to what we have is called a mileage record. Mm-hmm. So when my volunteers take clients out, I need to know who they're taking out, where they're taking, and how many miles. Now, we never send anybody out for just 2 miles or 3 miles. Yeah. So we do a minimum of 10 miles. And while it doesn't fully compensate you for your time, it certainly puts the gas back in your vehicle.
Right.
And I have a lot of volunteers that simply don't want to take that stipend, and that's completely up to them.
Yeah, that's their option.
It's their option, but I do need to keep that information. We need to know where the clients are going. So there is a record process that I do require of my volunteers. And it's just simply a form that I ask them to put in. So we do a payroll.
And so now what if you set up a volunteer with a client and the volunteer is supposed to spend 2 hours a week with the client? What if they want to spend more time together?
Well, I mean, you do things for your neighbors, right? Okay. You do things for your friends. It is our goal and our hope that our volunteers and clients become just that, friends and neighbors. So if you want to take them out for that 2 hour, which is totally COA, Council on Aging supported, that's phenomenal, and we'll keep track of that information and compensate you. But if you want to just stop by and watch a TV show, or, pick up a burger and have lunch, or you want to go to a play or a show, then congratulations, you just made a new friend.
Yeah.
And that's what this is about. It really is. It's about caring for your neighbors and your community. That's the idea.
Now, that kind of brings me into one of the last points that I want to make, because I know we're running out of time. But Joe Didi's coming on after me. He's usually really good about letting me go over a minute or two.
No, I'm counting.
I just want to finish with this concept, because one of the ideas that you brought when you came to this job last year, which I thought was a fabulous idea, was trying to recruit volunteers from what I almost call neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So you've been going out there and doing some programming. I know you did a program up at Hampton Village.
Yeah.
You did a program at General Shepherd, because what you're trying to do is get volunteers that live in the same sort of neighborhood, maybe senior housing complex as the clients, because that way your start point is you're right there. You don't have to drive 5 miles.
General Shepherd is a perfect example of a community that has volunteers and clients in it. And it's phenomenal because I have one volunteer that helps out 4 of her neighbors. Mm-hmm. Now, she's right there. They can go over to the Stop and Shop. She helps them with their bags back into that place. She can provide medical transportation for them. And she gets a little money in her pocket as well. So she's got a little extra cash. It's rewarding, and it's a win-win for everybody.
And I think because they live in the same housing complex, they kind of already know each other a little bit. So it's not where you're starting from. You absolutely don't know the person.
Right.
I know that we've really been pushing to try to get more volunteers from the north end.
Yes.
The north side of Westfield. We have a lot of people up in that Hampton Village that have been there for a long time. They've aged in place. So we have a lot of clients up there. So we're particularly recruiting, from some of those
north
other areas.
And it's a rural area still. Yeah. There's a lot of territory in Westfield.
Yes.
A lot of territory in Westfield. And, it's really hard when you have somebody who's driving 25 minutes because they live out by Southwick going all the way up to the north side, and then another 25 minutes to get back home, and then 2 hours. Now you're really asking somebody to donate, to really volunteer half a day.
Yeah.
And if you're in the neighborhood, and you can take them shopping because you're going.
Right.
And bring them home.
We have clients in that Southwest area. So those you, so those volunteers who are living in Westfield on this, kind of more toward
on
the
the border
side, we'd rather pair you with the clients there and get some other volunteers.
Yeah, it's the best use of time.
All right. So if somebody is listening and they decided, you know what, I'm in, or at least I want to learn more about this.
Sure.
How do they get information?
So they call me at 562-6435. Ask for Joyce Peregrine, Companion Program Coordinator. I have voicemail. I'm there Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, 9 to 3. I will gladly mail out a brochure. Somebody at the Council on Aging who answers the phone has access to those brochures. Just mail that out. It talks about everything we've talked about today, even the holidays that we take off. We don't go out in the evenings or weekends. It's strictly 8:30 to 4:30 when the Council on Aging's open. And then if you are interested, give me a call. I'll put a complete volunteer information packet for you to fill out, including a query report, at the front desk with your name. You pick it up. When you return it, I'll sit down and spend some time with you.
Right.
And really talk about the program and answer your questions.
Right. And I don't want people to feel like if you make that phone call, 562-6435, which is the main number for the Council on Aging. But I don't want you to feel that if you make that phone call, you've committed.
No.
You haven't. You're just making the phone call to get the information to see if this is something that you might want to try.
Sure. And maybe if not, a friend or neighbor, or perhaps even you're referring a client. So it's really good to be aware of the services in your community. And the Council on Aging provides amazing services.
That I can't end it on any better note. So we are going to wrap up. Joe Didi is next. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host. You've been listening to Wake Up Wednesday. We will be back next week.
Support for the community programming